Hi, it's Paul here from Interact Software. Once you've installed the Interact Job Costing for Odoo, the next step is to do some of the initial setup. Now there's two parts to this setup. There's some that is just optional and up to you whether you need to change our defaults or not, which we normally suggest that you do. It makes it more customizable for each of the companies that you, or for your own company. The other thing is there's some compulsory setup that we really do require you to do. So I'll go through those compulsory things first, and then I'll look at those optional settings. So one of the main things is if we go to the settings here, we'll see a tab here for the job costing on the left-hand side. And this is probably one of the main things. Now, if you don't set up this option here for the summary quotation, it won't actually allow you to create a summarized quotation. So summarize is when you consolidate all your estimate items into one total for the customer. So rather than showing them all the detail, or maybe even with the itemized, which is all down to the nitty-gritty of each individual product on your estimate. So you need to select something here that is going to be used for when it is a summary quotation. So I've just got Labor Supervisor here, but you can use whatever you like. So that's one option that you need to set up. The other one, if we come back to the job costing module here, and we go to products, the other one that's very important to set up is under these products here. So by default, you'll have most likely all your existing products in your database. We'll also add these extra default ones down the bottom. Now you can delete them if you like, but each of them is set up to attach to the cost groups that we've got through into the system by default. Now with all your other products that are in the database here, what we then suggest you do is set up the cost groups for each of those. So you can go into them manually one by one, and if you only got a couple, maybe that's the quickest way to do it and put in the cost group. But the quickest way to do it was to export the data out. So you can select the list option here, click here to select all the lines, and then select the option here to export them out. So when you export, the option that you want to select here is this cost group option, and the first one here, the cost group and category. So if I add that to my export and then export that data out, then we'll have that in our export file, and there we can see the extra column here for the cost group and category. And if you put in the data here, or just copy down the data and then import it back, you'll then have all those cost groups set up. That's one of the, with those two options that I've just talked about there, they're pretty much the main ones that you need to set up to get your system going. So without putting the cost groups in, the job costing won't really get any of those, that information about which cost group that each of the products that you use in the system will go to. So it's pretty important to set up every single product that you have or service that you have with a cost group from the setup here. So if we come into the configuration, this is the other optional things now. So if we've just come from settings, that's where we set up the default option for our summary quote. But if we go into the cost groups codes, we can set up here as many cost groups as you like. They will need to relate to one of our standard categories though, which is those 5 categories, and we can set up or change the default markups. But this is similar to what we set up before under the main setup. This will allow you to link that product to a particular cost group. So as you can see, we've got sundry and all these, but these are the products that we've imported in when the job costing module was imported. So yeah, as I said, you can add more, you can change to do whatever you want with this list, but it needs to relate to a category and it needs to have a quote product down here. The other one that's important to look at, and again, it's optional, but we recommend that you change, is the job types. So under the job types, we've just got some standard or some default job types that you might want to use. Now you could delete and change which ones you don't want here. So when you go and create a job in the system, it's going to ask you which job type you want to use. Now, one of the main features with the job types is using these defaults. So you can set up a job type that, for instance, if you create an engineering job, we will generally have subjobs to the engineering job, the phases or subjobs that you want to put in. But typically we wouldn't have subjobs to those subjobs as well, or the child subjobs. So that's unticked there. So internal service job, maybe you won't have subjobs as default, but maybe this make for stock or a bomb related type of setup, you might want to have subjobs and the parent job having subjobs. So again, delete what you don't want, add in what you do want, and configure that to what you like. These last three here are really more just very optional. We've got some defaults in here, but you can set these up to whatever you like. This is just a suggested way of breaking down your job into another type of way rather than just the job type. Okay, so the only other thing that I'd like to show you is underneath the settings here, and then if we select the option for general settings, we go into the manage users and select one of the users, and I'll just select this admin one. You do have an option down the bottom here that will indicate whether they have access to the job costing module and whether they can see the costs. And then under here, which is the one I wanted to talk about, is this option here allows them to, that user by default, when they're keying in their estimate, to either key it in using the net price from the product, which is not the default. The default is to add in using cost plus markup. So if you want to do that, that's out of the box, that's what it does. But if you want the user to normally enter in the sell price and default it to the value coming from the product database, you can select this option to be turned on, and that will default. But when you're keying your estimate anyway, it doesn't really matter too much because you can flick that back and forth to whatever you want at the time when you're putting in the estimate lines. It's just the default that you are going to be using here. So yeah, that's where you can set that up, and it's pretty much the last sort of optional configuration that you might want to do. From there, yeah, it's just a matter of putting in your jobs and your parent jobs and setting up your structure, which, obviously there's other videos on our YouTube page that you can have a look at to see how that's all done. If you've got any questions, you can contact us at support@interact.com.au. But that's probably about it for today. So yeah, give me a buzz if you need any questions answered, but we'll leave you with it. We are an Odoo partner and have been installing ERP packages since 1983. Mainly our Australian-made package Interact software, which has a ton of great features, quite similar to Odoo. We've been helping clients personalize and install Odoo since 2020. We pride ourselves on our customer relationships and getting to know exactly what benefits their businesses. You can contact us via our website or toll-free number 1300 66 2626. We hope to hear from you soon.